Okay.
All right, so just hit broadcast. So. Ooh. I need to have me a playlist, you know. It's waiting time. Come on with a playlist next time.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. That's some holding music. Right. Ooh. All right, so it's 2:03 and we're gonna go ahead and get started. This webinar is gonna be recorded. So for all those who may want to take a look at this webinar later, or for those who may come in the middle, they'll have a chance to take advantage and watch the full webinar. But thank you guys for joining us today for our webinar learning series. Today, I serve as your host, Ian Chappelle, and as the education coordinator for the National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters Foundation. And we have the pleasure of having our very own Ashley Smith, who's part of our social media team, but she also has her own digital media marketing company, Dimensions. And so we're going to have a great opportunity to hear from her around digital sales and the art of social media strategy. If you will, you can present questions throughout the presentation. If you see the Q&A bar, that's going to be, it should be on up at the top or at the bottom. There's a Q&A box that you can type in any questions if you have any. And also, if you have any issues throughout the webinar, also put them there and we'll try to take care of them. All right. Again, thanks for your time. And Ashley, all yours.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you everyone who's on the webinar today. Again, my name is Ashley Smith and I am the founder of Dimensions Media Agency. That is a full service public relations agency in creative marketing and brand development. This is part 2. So if you were on part 1, we're going to continue on and learning our 5 steps to social media selling. And while we're learning how to position followers into your sales pitches, the specific focus of today is going to be digital sales, the art of social media strategy. So my background is I graduated with, sorry, let me get that back for you. Graduated from Florida A&M University with a public relations degree. I also participated with the National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters, their Media Sales Institute, where I got all of my background for selling media, and the rest is history. It's a 10-year career within print, within radio, within digital sales, and I worked in Atlanta for V103 and 92.9 The Game, and then I moved to New York where I worked for Hot 97 and WBLS, and now I've taken all of that knowledge and created the full service media agency that I told you about a little bit earlier. So before we even get started, the objective of what I want to teach you today about social media strategy just comes from this quote here. It's about working with a purpose, and it is your social media marketing efforts are only as strong as your concept and your digital strategy. Every post, reply, like, and comment should serve a purpose. And as I go into further detail, you're going to see how some of those metrics that I covered in part 1 will carry over into that strategy, and just truly understanding what it is that you're doing, because today, while we're talking about strategy and we're talking about conceptualization, that is really, in short, your how. How do you plan on meeting your clients and your advertisers' goals and objectives? And so what we covered previously was this 5-step process that I use whenever I'm approaching social media, whether it's just a social media campaign or it's an inclusive campaign, which is integrated, Last week, or the last webinar rather, we discussed the discovery. That's determining who your advertiser's target market is, what their challenges are, who they would like to talk to, where they would like to talk to, what is the geography, what are the locations, and just doing a customer needs analysis. And this is your job to find out how can what you offer, how can that align with what they offer. And then today we're going to go into that next step, which is the conceptualization, which is the strategy. And that's bringing everything that we learned from that first customer needs analysis, and that is going to align with the services that you have. And then as the webinars continue on, I'll discuss with you how you take the conceptualization, turn that into creative. From there, execute and analyze and optimize along the way. Okay, so before I start any social media strategy, I have already asked the client or advertiser questions, but I also have to take a second and I have to ask myself questions. And there are 3 specific questions that I ask, and I have them listed to the right. And that is, what is your big picture idea to reach your advertisers' goals and objectives? Is that going to be existing content that your organization already has? Is it going to be an experience that is combined with maybe an event that you guys have? Is there a way that you can align it with promotions where maybe there's contesting, or a combination of all of them? The second question that I ask myself is, how will I communicate that big picture idea to their target audience? And then how do I encourage engagement? And so that's another way that you need to understand and really educate yourself on the assets that your organization provides. Are you able to do a video? Are you able to do live stream? Are you able to take an influencer to do an IG takeover? Is it simply a social graphic, polls, content sponsorship, everything? Take a look at every single I guess you can say weapon that you have in your arsenal to help you to achieve the client's objectives and goals, as well as for you to help yourself to get to sell. And thirdly, it is part of the question number 2, but what resources do you have? So if you're traditional television, if you're traditional radio, if you're just digital, do you have any station programming that you're doing on a consistent basis that you can tag your client onto and do some integrated marketing? Does the client have a national campaign or a campaign that they've already created with an agency that they simply want to amplify across your platform? And then also, which is one of my favorite, is original content. Do you have the resources to help yourself do some background to maybe produce and direct some new content that is not yet available? Okay, so in part 1 of the discovery, we determined how to determine the goals and objectives. The goals, remember, are very, very broad. I want to increase my followers could be a goal. An objective is something that is a lot more specific, and it actually has numbers and a timeline and dates to go with it. So I want to increase my followers by 20% using video content within the year of 2019 or maybe a period of a couple of months. Those are your goals and objectives. Now we're going to figure out if that is going to align with the functions of social media, which I reviewed in Discovery Part 1 as well. Are you looking to build awareness? Are you looking for engagement, conversions? And then are you just looking to add more consumer retention? And if you look to the chart on the right, these are the metrics that we use to determine success. Once we've determined what that objective is, while we're running the campaign and optimizing it, and then once we take a look at the results in the recap, how are we going to prove and show our value of advertising or doing promotions with us? I'm going to use either followers or shares, comments, mentions. Are you driving traffic to their website? Has someone given a comment that might be very positive, or testimony? So when this webinar goes back out, this is a great chart to use, and I found it on Hootsuite, and it really just sums it up and makes it simple. So before I move forward, I know I got a question last time about pricing. So I want to give you a few tips when you're developing your social media plans and that social media strategy. There are things that you're going to want to make sure that you consider so that you don't undervalue your sale and undervalue also the quantity and the frequency of the social media that you need to put out there for it to actually perform. There's a lot of attrition that can come with social media if you don't put a proper plan in place. So make sure that you do not undervalue yourself by considering the timeline. just like your radio schedules or your television schedules, how long will your social media be running? And by knowing that and knowing the concept of the campaign, you're also going to want to know how many messages that you're going to have to put out. And the idea, I believe I talked to you about a little bit in the first webinar, think about Geico. Geico always has maybe 3 or 4 different messages running at one time, where it might be the caveman, it might be the gecko, it might be one of the people at like a more family-oriented conversation, or the clever commercials that they have. How many messages do you have is going to determine how long your timeline is, and also how much time you have to distribute that. Also with frequency, just like any other form of media, how many times is the consumer going to need to see that message, hear that message before they actually become what you considered in the buying market or someone to convert? And once you know what your frequency is, that's going to help you to determine the quantity of how many posts that you're going to need to put out. And most importantly, what I have found along the way is you have to make sure that you know in your organization, what are the influencers' talent costs? Just like if they were to do something on air to promote an advertiser, they're also going to have revenue that is directed toward them. So make sure you consider that, because they're always going to receive their payment. But if you do not consider that while you're pricing out your plan, that is going to cut into the advertising dollars that you're using to promote. Same thing as come up many times is production cost. Are you going to need a designer? Are you going to need a videographer who is going to be editing? So make sure that you also consider the hard costs into your plan so that your plan performs as well as you have sold it to perform. And then finally, with social media, Facebook, Instagram, amplification, what you consider boosting, because the algorithms have changed and you're reaching far less people on each post. It is very beneficial to put some advertising dollars behind that, and make sure you allocate that up front, because there is nothing worse than going through a campaign and having to come back to your customer or your client or your partner and to say, hey, I'm going to need some more dollars because such and such is not performing the way that I was hoping that it would. And so this go round, I'm going to do less teaching, and I'm going to show you some real world examples of campaigns that I've worked on, specifically NIAC. And this is when I was at WBLS and WLIB in New York City. And they have been a long-standing client there. And they are a Christian-based college, and they also have graduate school and online school. And the focus of this campaign is actually 2 different campaigns in one. I want to show you different ideas of how we can stretch an idea and those multiple phases to help to decrease client attrition, and then also to help you maximize and increase the sale every time you go back in to show results. So we knew that when NIAC came to us, they were coming specifically to reach the African-American audience. And they wanted us to increase brand awareness and generate leads so that they could follow up with them either by phone, by direct mail, or by email. And knowing that our WBLS audience actually mirrors that exactly. And another thing while I'm telling you about this is make sure that you know the content that is offered. So make sure that you're following your organization's social media. And I say that to say, because by seeing our audiences engage and seeing those numbers each day of how many people were liking, how many people were engaging, that was when I was able to come back to the drawing board after this customer needs analysis to determine that we have an inspirational social media sponsorship that had not yet been sold, but there's always opportunity within the content. And then we also, after the inspirational social media sponsorship, a new Facebook Live piece of content with 2 of our influencers, Deja Vu and ECT, that came about. And that was another opportunity for new business and new content to tag and advertise in order to meet their goals and objectives. And before I move on, does anyone have any questions? Okay. I don't see any pop up. So the first idea that we have was a hashtag campaign. And this was called hashtag open your door to more, just something motivational, something inspirational that you can include in the copy when we would post every morning. So I told you before, it's basically spiritual memes that we put out every day. It was existing WBLS content that we also put on our gospel station, WLIB. Sometimes it's affiliated with Steve Harvey that opens up our reach. And by the end of this particular campaign, we had over 243 Instagram posts. So that's showing them the quantity and the frequency. And then we also had increased engagement. And what I'm going to do now is just click into here so you can see what I'm speaking about. And I'm also going to show you how you help to prove value along the way by comparing the results that you're receiving to the results that your client or advertiser or partner may be receiving. So a simple example, start the day off right by giving thanks to God. Because we understand that their target market is the mirror image of the target market that we offer, we were able to come up with different copy. And so it says, thank you, God. Open your door to more with NIAC College, where your future awaits you in an environment of intellectual growth for both career and character development. So again, it's the hashtag morning motivation. We have the hashtag open your door to more for tracking, which is huge because you're going to have to know those metrics in order to go back in and prove the value. And beyond that, I believe that this was liked over 1,000 times. And if you take a look down here, you'll see all the different times that people engaged. And so what this did was it built just a positive experience around the brand of NIAC College. And if we were to do direct advertising on their social media, which we had already done, and we noticed that you're going to need a combination of both. Because everyone is not always looking to be marketed to. But these were phenomenal engagement pieces that we could show NIAC College to help them understand why this sponsorship was beneficial to them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to their page, because here we had over 1,000 likes on this particular post. And you saw all the engagement on the row, and I'm just going to scroll a little bit so you can see that on average, they might have 100, maybe 40 likes per post. So this is showing the value of the engagement and then also of the reach that we're giving them by placing them on our social media. And this next example here, this really shows you the growth of what metrics can do when you're going back in to resell. This particular post that reads, thank you, Lord, for carrying me through another day, had over 673 likes. But what's most important, and even beyond the likes, is 148 shares. So every time that this post was shared, that was then presented to a whole new audience base that could share it with their audience. And we had 36 comments, and all of them were positive, and it's exactly the type of audience or target market that the college was looking for. And I just want to let you know here in the copy, this is words of advice. When this campaign first started, a lot of the time the hashtag was not being posted through our social media team. And so that's something that you're going to want to stay highly abreast of when you send the copy, to ensure and to reiterate that your social media team, if you have one, and for yourself, to remember to post that hashtag, because without it, they will not come up within your results. And that can actually be the difference between a large reach, as you can see here, of 148 shares, and you might only maybe receive 20 of those. So don't shortchange yourself, because social media is a lot of hard work. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. We're going to move on. And once we presented the results from the hashtag Open Your Door to More campaign, we walked into a new opportunity where I was scrolling through our WLIB social media one day, and I came across Nisi T and Deja Vu, and these are world-renowned on-air hosts in New York, and they had created their own Facebook Live Bible study session. And it's very, very hard sometimes if on those particular stations having the Christian content, what could be something that was relevant to them and then also aligned in something that made sense. And so we took this idea of branding NIAC and partnering them with the She Rocks the Word, the Facebook Live series, but we also took it the next step. We, in the world of podcasting right now, there's a lot of opportunity when you bring your podcast to life and you have a live event. And so that's what we did. We wanted to make sure that not only did our audience hear about the partnership, but we actually wanted to get our audience on the campus of NIAC. So we hosted a Facebook Live, She Rocks the Word, live on the NIAC campus. And we also included an incentive offer where you could come and meet NCT and Deja Vu. And within the raffle of that day and the whole experience of it, an audience member walked away with an exclusive opportunity to come and visit NCT and Deja Vu in the studios. So for the purposes of social media planning, and this is not the entire campaign, but we included 4 sponsored Facebook Live episodes during that span of the campaign. We had 1 She Rocks the Word live event on the NIAC campus. And then we also had 4 sponsored blog posts. And those sponsored blog posts are where we're driving traffic back to a particular article on the website. And that website also, on the page itself, has a client provided tagline, and then it also has a link to the to NIAC's website. So that's how we were generating traffic for them and generating leads, by first hooking our social media audience in with She Rocks the Word content, and then by aligning them with this pleasurable experience, now they're going to think of NIAC in a good light and consider them when it comes to education. We took different snippets of co-branded social posts. That's when NIAC and WBLS and WLIB are in partnership together visually. And then you also have dedicated NIAC social posts, and those are your general social posts where it's just direct client-specific messaging. And you'll see again, we've done product placement. So if you look to the image on the left, NIAC is nowhere to be seen in this branding, in this image, and we're going to show you what we did next. So I spoke to you earlier about those helpful tips to consider when you're building out a social media plan. This is an example of kind of the timeline or the different phases of the campaign. We knew that because this event was happening after our Circle of Sisters event, if you weren't on the call last week, WBLS has a huge, I guess you could say, symposium for African American women inside the Jacob Javits Center in New York. 40 to 50,000 women. They're coming to shop. They're coming to get educated. And because there's a lot of web traffic from the interviews that we do with the celebrities that come, we want to make sure that we align this messaging and to get as much reach as we possibly could by releasing our content alongside COS for the pre-event content. We also included event for the day of the actual event. And this is where we're coming in, where we're talking about how many messages, so that determines the quantity and the frequency. We also wanted to make sure after the fact that just because the event was over, that we posted to give more visibility to NIAC and to the content that was done, and then also general social media. So I wanted you guys to be able to hear it, but unfortunately audio is not working too well on the full video, but I'm going to be able to show you some snippets. But if you just take a look down here to the left, you'll see that this Facebook Live episode, and I'll give you a little hint, it actually wasn't live. We filmed it and then we promoted it as live on Facebook. It had over 2,232 views. So when you're talking about a Christian college, when you're in New York and people having engagement, if they were to have done this on their own, of course we know that they probably would not have gotten the reach that by promoting and using our audience and our follower base to reach as many people as possible. So here's an example of the pre-event promotion. The content is just a video announcement that we released, as I told you, in conjunction with the COS content. And then the message was to alert our audience that attendance at the live show on the NIAC campus, it qualifies you for an exclusive in-studio opportunity with Deja Vu and NCT, and I'll let you hear it.
Hey, I'm Nisi Trippett of 1190 WLIB.
And I'm Deja Vu from WBLS.
And we're inviting you to join us at NIAC College on October the 10th.
there from 12 noon to 1 p.m. for She Rocks the Word Live.
We're going to be doing our Bible study. We're going to be interacting with the audience, and you can be there.
You can actually qualify for a chance to hang out with us at the WBLS and WLIB studios.
For more information, log on to WBLS.com.
So that was one video. And again, video gets more engagement. So anytime you have the opportunity to do video, I highly recommend it. The next example, I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, you have a question. Ms. Perkins asks, how long did the campaign run?
The campaign ran for 1 month. 1 month prior to the event. Okay. The next piece of content that we did was when we took that video invite and we turned it into a social graphic. And so it reads, Deja Vu Speaks and Nisi T are personally inviting you to join them at Nyack College for She Rocks the Word Live. It's going to be beautiful, 80 degrees. Link in bio for more information. Join them this Wednesday, October 10th from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. as they hold their interactive Bible study live at Nyack Manhattan campus. All attendees also have the chance to win the exclusive opportunity to sit in on a live taping of the She Rocks the Word at WLIB and WBLS studios. And if you're on social media and you know these ladies, you know that the fans absolutely love and adore them. So to have that type of opportunity, it's really going to generate a lot more engagement. And then also, if you were to click into our websites from this particular link or anything that we had, it would have the client promoted messaging, also with a link to Nyack EDU. And this is event day. And these posts did not come from WBLS or WLIB. These were the influencer posts. So Deja Vu posted different snippets using her social media in turn. And what is so great about this is another thing to consider. So if your influencers, which most of the time they will, they have a fee to post. Again, consider what that cost is for them to post to their own social media. And you would want them to do so because they have an entirely different follower base than just the follower base that is with your organization. And an example of this is Deja Vu. She's nationally syndicated. She also does satellite radio. So this is even more people that she can reach beyond the audience space that you have. And I'll let you hear a little bit from what the snippet she took that day.
Wandering and then wondering, right? Wondering who's going to do it. And wondering and confusion are cousins. What up, cuz? You was the family reunion. You see wondering, and confusion all in there. So when you start wondering, you get confused about what God's word says. There should not be any confusion in Christ, right? And it says in James, also stop reasoning and stop all this debating. Because God's ways are not our ways. So we try and reason things. But what makes sense to the man is not going to make sense to the spiritual level.
So if you look to the right, that is actually a Nyack representative. You have Nyack branding on the step and repeat in the background. But right now, what your audience is doing is they're really connecting with the content rather than the direct message. And so again, when they think of education, if there's someone who is thinking of continue ed, undergrad, but they have a faith-based background, they'll think of Nyack. And the picture to the right, it shows who our studio audience was for that day. So it shows this awesome experience so that when we bring it back around, we'll see even more engagement. Okay, and this is our post-event social. And now you're going to get to hear what I consider dedicated messaging, and it's client-specific messaging. Although you see the branding in the background, but you can't pay for this. This was a graduate of the school who now actually works there. And we took this as a 1-minute segment from that Facebook Live episode, pushed it across WBLS IG and WBLS Facebook. And in order to watch the full episode, which was the call to action, again, the tagline and another link to Nyack EDU.
Before we get started in the actual Bible study, Anicia, tell us about how you connected with Nyack and how you are now working with the company.
Sure. Well, I'm a proud Nyack alum. Big up Nyack. I actually graduated last year with my degree in pastoral ministry. And I love the environment at Nyack. It literally is a place where you can be fed academically, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally.
Okay. And here is another 1-minute snippet that we took to tease the content, and it's to drive in more views from that total number that I showed you earlier. Again, with the client tagline and the most important thing, driving conversions to NIAC EDU.
Go ahead. How many?
Count quick.
Go ahead.
But I'm just saying, God said he didn't give us the mind to wander. He told us to believe. Mark 11:23-24 says, whoever says this mountain be lifted up and thrown into the sea, don't doubt it in your heart. Maybe you got to believe that it's already done.
Yes.
It's already done.
Anyway, that's what it is.
Go ahead.
I read a quote that says, if you want to know where your heart is, look at where your mind goes.
Come on now.
When it wanders.
Right.
That is so true.
You know, and that is so important to us because we have to watch how the enemy will use that wandering mind to distract you from your goal.
And so whenever I'm choosing the different snippets from the event, the teasers, I like to think of it like I'm in television, and what would be that 30-second or 1-minute commercial that would make someone intrigued and have them convert to watch more. And finally, this is the general branding. This is client branding, client provided. And it is always my recommendation that unless a client is a major advertiser, that you will connect them with something that the station does, your organization does, simply because direct messaging right now, that's kind of the old school way. And you'll see the difference. This was on WLIB, so you see there's a lot less followers than WBLS, who has around 75,000 followers. You have 7 likes here. And so on BLS, you saw a lot more engagement, and that's why the reason we did the combination of WBLS and WLIB. And you'll take a look here. This is a much younger student than you would normally see on WLIB. And the reason for that is we wanted to make sure that we were also talking to parents and grandparents who are also sometimes in the decision process of where their children and family go to school.
Before I came to NIAC, I was really spiritually lost. I was in a community system, and I was just taking classes just to take classes, to be honest. I really wasn't sure which direction God wanted me in. NIAC really wasn't an option for me. I didn't really think of NIAC, but the minute I found out it was a Christian college, my interest started to peak. NIAC is not like every other college. The minute you step in, you notice that there's something different about this place.
So again, the recommendation is to always do a combination of station programming, organization programming, along with the client's direct message. And so this particular campaign, it ran for the 1 month, 2 weeks prior, or 2 weeks after COS. It had a week of the show and then the week after post. And in total, these are the metrics. So for our Facebook Live, our total reach was over 17,000 people. We had almost 26,000 total views. And what's really crazy and what really means the most when you're coming back to do a recap is the engagement. You saw that when I took you to their Instagram page, they might have one engagement average 40 to 100 likes. We had over 741 engagements with the Facebook Live. When it came to the WBLS and WLIB Facebook and IG in their post, almost reached 60,000 people. We had 62,000 total views, and the engagement again is very, very high at 183, especially when you think about the topics and the target audience that we were looking for. And again, for additional information that shows just the intent of our audience and why this content means a lot to them, we had over 2,000 page views to the blog post where the full episode lived. And the unique page views, that means people came back more than once, because we had 1,770 unique page views. But what's most important is if you've ever done Google Analytics, or if you know what an entrance is the first page that you see when you enter a website. So that means if something comes up in your social media feed and you click on it, because that's the first post that you see, that's proving intentionality that this is content that the audience wants to read. And to have almost 1,200, 1,229, those are great performance metrics to show with your client. And so just to recap, what I've gone through today, and I'm going to give you time to ask me more questions, share with me any observations, or if you have personal success stories. What we reviewed today was what I went through in the first part, which was discovery. And that's the customer needs analysis, uncovering your challenge, who is your target market, what are their interests, and the uncover the goals and objectives. Today, we discuss the strategy, the conceptualization, that big picture idea, and then from knowing what that big picture idea is, how do you scale it down to form a game plan? And in short, your strategy is your how. How do you plan on achieving your goals? I showed you the NIAC campaign. I showed you their strategy. I showed you how we help to grow those dollars year after year and month after month. And then I also show you how we are decreasing attrition with campaigns like hashtag open your door to more, hashtag she rocks the word. And then we also wanted to help you minimize that attrition. And then I gave you some results. And these are metrics that prove value by showing your advertiser and going to their pages and showing them what their current engagement looks like, and then comparing it to the engagement that you're able to provide. Speaks volumes beyond sometimes even any idea. So if you have any questions or observations or personal success stories that you've done in your market, please feel free to share. I'm open ears.
Ooh.
Okay, I don't see any questions or observations. Thank you everyone for being on this call today. To connect with me and Dimensions Media, my company, we're on Facebook at Dimensions Media, and on Instagram, we're Dimensions Media, Dimensions_media, and we're coming to Twitter. So thank you for being on this call. If some questions pop up later, if you want some help with an idea, feel free to reach out to me. And I can't wait for part 3 where we talk about creative development.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you all for staying tuned and participating in today's webinar. Please stay tuned to next month's webinar, which will be, we will have our own George Cook, who is program director at K1, I believe he's at K104, and he will be speaking to us about how to grow your future stars with a focus on ratings and revenue. So please be on the lookout for that registration link, which will be coming out very soon in this month's DigiLetter, as well as the reminders that will be coming soon after. All right, you all have a great day, and yeah, be blessed.
All right then.